Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to the Suburban Proletarian. My name is Greg, and I'd like to start off by apologizing for my appearance. I've been working outdoors for 8 hours today, so I'm probably a little bit grubbier than I would normally be. But the truth is, the two jobs that actually pay the bills around here have been going absolutely gangbusters for weeks now, and it's getting really hard to find any time to squeeze in some filming for new content for the channel. I have a lot of videos I want to make. I have a lot of things I want to talk about with you guys. So today I thought I'd try to squeeze in just a short video. I want to take a quick look at a brand new knife that I got. And of course, since none of you tuned into this video without reading the title first, of course I'm talking about the Spyderco Delica. More specifically, I'm talking about the Delica 4. This is the latest model with all of the latest features. And even more specifically, I'm talking about the all stainless model. I've been lusting after an all stainless Spyderco since the mid 1980s, when pretty much all you had to choose from was the Worker and the Police and a couple of other models. But they were just way too expensive for me at the time. I was young, I didn't have any money. Now I'm old and I don't have any money, but I'm gonna get stuff that I like anyway. And I want to take a quick look at this. It's a pretty neat knife. I don't know that Spyderco has been forthcoming with production numbers on individual models, but they do say that the Delica and its larger sibling, the Endura, are the two best-selling knives in their line and have been for a very, very long time. Both of these models were introduced side by side in 1990. Neither of them was available as an all stainless model until the second generation came out in, I believe, 1996. This first generation Endura was the very first Spyderco I ever owned. Both of these were introduced as lightweight models using glass reinforced nylon handle scales, extremely lightweight, much lighter than they are today. This Endura only weighs about 2.5 ounces. I think the current Endura lightweight weighs about 3 3/4 ounces. So the addition of a metal pocket clip, this one has the old-fashioned molded in nylon. Not only does it have the old-fashioned molded in nylon, it's got the first iteration of the molded in nylon clip. So the steel clips seem to have added about 1 ounce of weight to the knife. I can't believe that's possible. There must be some other additions that have increased the weight a little bit. This all stainless Delica weighs about 4 ounces, so it's about 1.5 ounces heavier than its larger sibling. It's not exactly going to drag your pants down at 4 ounces, but it's not the ultra lightweight that it was when it first came out. But it's a really neat knife. It opens very smooth. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I don't want to get it all scratched up before we get a chance to look at it on the tabletop. So I've been very careful with it, but so far I'm very impressed. It's no surprise that the Delica is the best-selling model that Spyderco has in their line. I mean, it's perfect EDC size. I think the blade is just under 3 inches, whereas the Endura has, I think, about a 3.5-inch blade, pushing 4 inches. The Endura is more of an outdoors model. It's sized for camping, hunting, fishing, backpacking, you name it, the broad range of camp chores. I EDC'd this knife for years and years. It's amazing I never broke the supposedly extremely fragile pocket clip, and that's really the reason I don't carry it anymore. But the Delica is certainly much more of an EDC-sized knife. So why don't we go take a look at this on the tabletop, and then we'll do a bit of a wrap-up. Before we do, I've gotten very used to doing the customary wristwatch check, but as you can see, today I'm wearing my F91W. I don't know if there's really any point. There's nothing that I can say that I haven't said and others have said thousands of times before here and elsewhere about the F91W. So it occurs to me, since I'm starting to do more and more knife reviews, why don't we do a pocket check? And in the spirit of working outdoors today, I am actually carrying one of my favorite outdoor working knives, the Svord Peasant knife. Svord knives are made by a Kiwi knife maker by the name of Brian Baker. So they are produced in New Zealand, but they use Swedish steel. I used to think it was, I think actually when I first bought this knife, I thought it was the same variety of Sandvik carbon steel that Mora uses in its knives. But in fact, it turns out it's a carbon steel made by Uddeholm, also in Sweden. It's called 15N20. Not a very well-known steel. Many of you might not have heard of it. It's most popular as an element in handmade Damascus, as one of the layers in handmade Damascus. But it makes a pretty nice standalone knife steel. It is high carbon. It's the best I can tell. It's more or less the equivalent of 1065 or 1075 spotted lanternfly. With some nickel mixed in. Now the nickel should give it some corrosion resistance, but these knives still rust readily. And it's an outdoor working knife. This is a bushcrafter's knife. It's one of the best folding bushcraft knives I've ever come across. I like the fact that it doesn't have a locking system. It is a friction folder. It's quite secure. It's not going to close on your hand if you're gripping it tightly. But you can go ahead and do some light batoning and things on it without having to worry about breaking a locking system, because it has no locking system. With a knife like this, I basically just deal with active rust as it appears, keep it clean, let the knife gain a patina. It's all good. It's for use outdoors. It's for busting brush out in the woods. And these are just fantastic little knives. If there's any interest in this, please go ahead and comment down below. I'd be more than happy to do a standalone review on this knife. I may do that anyway, but the status of the channel right now, with only about 60 subscribers or so, one single request can bump something from the bottom of the list all the way to the top. So if you're interested in seeing a review on this knife, I'll be more than happy to do it. But without any further ado, let's go take a look at the Delica 4, and then we'll wrap things up. All right, guys, so here is the Delica 4, right next to its sibling, the Endura 1. As I already stated, this was the very first Spyderco I ever purchased, and I bought it in 1992, I believe, in, I think, Tacoma, Washington, and it was in a cutlery shop in a shopping mall which had a live gorilla in it, if that tells anybody anything. I don't know how a live gorilla in a shopping mall would go down nowadays, but that's what it was in 1992 or 1993. And at the time, this was the most amazing knife I'd ever laid my hands on. And that was really what made Spyderco so great. They incorporated everything: one-handed opening, a pocket clip, a fully serrated blade that actually worked. But I carried this knife for years, and I don't really want to carry it anymore. I'm afraid of breaking the clip. I never had that happen, but you know, this knife doesn't really have a lot of collector's value. I'm not a knife collector, but it's old enough and has some sentimental value that I just don't really carry it anymore. So I was looking for a new traditional Spyderco. I own a few knives from some of Spyderco's other lines, including the Bird line of knives, which are made in China, but I wanted another traditional heritage model, and I didn't really want to go for another Endura. This one served me well for a long time, but I have a lot of larger folding knives now, and I wanted something that was a little bit more EDC sized, and the Delica fits the bill. And I also, as I stated already, was I've always wanted one of these all stainless models, and the Delica 4 in stainless steel is just about as close as you can get in a current production knife to the original Spyderco worker. It's dimensionally very similar. I just thought it was going to be a nice fit for me. And so far I'm very pleased with it. It's nice and tight. There's zero side-to-side blade play. There's no fore and aft play. It opens and closes extremely smoothly, as these Spydercos are known to do. One interesting thing about this, however, before I bought it, I was thinking about buying one of these, and it was always my impression that the stainless steel models were made in the United States. When I went to Spyderco's website, however, when I was thinking about buying an Endura 4 in stainless steel, it said that the point of origin was Japan. So I went to a brick and mortar store, which I'm not going to mention, and they happen to have a Delica 4 in stainless steel on the shelf, and I looked at it, and I turned it over, and lo and behold, it says made in USA, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Maybe this is, in fact, an American Spyderco. I thought maybe they did small batches in the US or something, and most of them were made in Japan, and I thought, wow, that is really, really neat. So I couldn't get my money out of my pocket fast enough to buy this thing, And I get it home and I cut it out of its packaging, and lo and behold, it's made in Seki City, Japan, which is, I mean, I don't have a problem with Japanese Spydercos. I was expecting the knife to be made in Japan, but I was a little bit disappointed that the packaging didn't reflect what was inside there. Now, I don't know, maybe the components are made in Japan and they're assembled in the United States or something like that. If somebody has an answer to that, if somebody at Spyderco could answer that question, or even anyone really watching this video, if you've got an answer to the discrepancy between the packaging and the knife, please share that with me and everybody else on the channel. Anyway, I like it very much. Like I said, it's tight. Everything lines up perfectly. It's beautiful. It's exactly what I would expect from Spyderco. And I've always felt that these, even though this is, again, the first one I've ever owned, I've always felt that these all stainless models kind of went a little bit further in the fit and finish department. And again, I am not at all disappointed with how the knife looks. Being all stainless, it's not screwed together. It is pinned construction, just like the older knives, and the pins are pretty much blind. If you really tilt it around in the light, you can kind of see the pins, but they're pretty well done. It does have 4 attachment points for the clip. I guess if there's one niggling thing about this knife that kind of annoys me, it's all these empty threaded holes all over the place. I would have kind of preferred had they made it tip up only, and maybe had just the provision to change from left hand to, or from right hand to left hand carry, and maybe fitted some tiny little filler screws for the empty holes. Or maybe, I mean, back here, the screw holes don't interfere with the pivot as they would up here. You could have just made the screws much longer to go through and just come out here to flush. I don't know, that would have been a little bit cleaner look, but if that's my biggest complaint about the knife, it's not too important. It does incorporate a lot of the other latest features, the buoy dent. Again, I'm not really convinced on the value of the buoy dent, but it doesn't bother me. We've got jimping on the back of the blade, which the original Endura did not have. This has the dropped tip. I'm sure that has a name that I'm not aware of, but it has the drop tip, whereas this had more of a straight tip. I guess the thought being that you might possibly be able to catch your finger. I've never had a problem with that on this knife, but it's definitely not going to happen on the Delica. It's well inside there. Probably the #1 complaint you see in Amazon reviews, etc., about these all stainless Spydercos is how easily they scratch, and that is absolutely true. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but there's a fairly significant scratch here already. There's a myriad of other small scratches already appearing, and I have literally done nothing with this knife other than to set it on a wooden table or wrap it up in a plastic sandwich bag, trying to protect the finish on it till I could do this video. I haven't carried it in my pocket, I haven't cut anything with it, I haven't used it at all, and it's already getting scratched. So if that's going to bother you, it's probably a good idea to go maybe for glass reinforced nylon or a G10 handle. Having said that, the scratching really doesn't bother me. I mean, I take it into account. And once they get lots and lots and lots of scratches all over them, that sort of pocket-worn finish, I think they really look kind of cool. And they get this very smooth, satiny feel to them that's, I don't know, it's pleasing to the touch. It doesn't really bother me. I like the looks, but it does bother some people. And if you're one of those folks who puts a piece of Scotch tape on the inside of the buckle on your watch bracelet to keep it from getting any scratches, I would probably avoid this knife. One other final note I would like to say about this knife regards the blade geometry. It's perfectly done. I'm not making any complaints about how it's ground. One thing that I don't really understand about this knife is why they chose to put the flat saber grind blade on the Delica 4 in stainless steel. I think of these flat saber or Scandi blades as being more bushcrafty, really made for heavy-duty cutting chores that you'd be doing outdoors, whereas the full flat grind blades that are available on many Spyderco knives, including other versions of the Delica, are much better suited to sort of slicing and cutting, breaking down cardboard boxes, food prep especially. I mean, the full flat ground blades on Spydercos, and unfortunately I don't have one here, but you'll be seeing them in other videos. The full flat ground blade really mimics the grind of a kitchen knife, and they're perfect for slicing tomatoes, chopping onions, whether it's in your kitchen or even around camp. They're great for that. And a nice thing is the stainless steel is totally impermeable. Most plastics are fine as well, but I mean, this thing is absolutely not going to absorb any type of bacteria or other nasty microbial stuff that could make you sick. And honestly, when you're done using this for food prep, if you're using it at home, you could just toss it in the silverware basket in your dishwasher, and it'll come out perfectly clean and 100% sterilized. You could probably do that with a glass reinforced nylon knife. Nylon has a melting temperature somewhere between 400 and 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Most dishwashers only get up to about 180 degrees to get things sterilized. So it would probably be okay, but you don't have to necessarily melt plastic to degrade it. So I think numerous trips through the dishwasher for one of these is probably not going to be the best thing for the knife. And honestly, I'm not sure what it would do to your Spyderco warranty. So these are perfect for food prep. Stainless steel handles, as durable as they are, can be quite slippery. If your hands are at all wet or slick with sweat or blood or fish slime or motor oil or hydraulic fluid, this thing can slip right out of your hand like a bar of soap. So, I don't know. I kind of was going for a traditional look. I always wanted a Spyderco worker. They're just too expensive for me nowadays. So, I'm fine with the flat saber grind. It's more traditional. It gives a more traditional look. But if I were designing this knife for public consumption, I think I would have put the full flat ground blade on it. Again, not a problem. I knew what it had when I bought it. I'm not at all disappointed, but it's something to consider. I just think of the saber grind as more of an outdoors hunting, bushcraft style blade, and with this thing's food prep possibilities, I would have gone with the full flat grind blade. So I guess I've beat this dead horse as far as I can go with it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Unfortunately, again, this is kind of a rushed video. I've been outside. There's flies buzzing around my face, so this is maybe not going to be my best video ever. But I hope you enjoyed it, and let's go do the wrap-up. All right, so that was the Delica 4. It's a beautiful little knife. It's manufactured in Japan, despite the fact that I thought it was American-made when I bought it, or I wasn't really sure about where it was made. The stainless steel handle scales, if you're worried about scratching, I would avoid any stainless handled Spyderco like the plague. They do seem to scratch very, very readily. Again, if you think it's going to bother you, be aware it is going to scratch. There's just no way around it. I haven't used it at all, and it's already got a myriad of scratches on it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please go ahead and click the like button down below. If you hated it, go ahead and click the dislike button. If you did enjoy the video and you'd like to see more like it, please consider subscribing to the channel. YouTube doesn't care about total views anymore. They only care about how many subscribers a channel has. So every subscription goes a long way to help keeping me here on the air. It doesn't cost a dime. It takes a fraction of a second. And if in the future you decide that I suck, you can unsubscribe at any time. And if you're already a subscriber, go ahead and click the little bell icon down below. That will allow YouTube to send you notifications when I post updates to the channel. And when I do that, I hope to see each of you here again at that time. Later, guys.